Hey, what's up YouTube? This is a follow-up video. If you guys watch the channel, you know that about a month ago I received a SCH308. I believe this model is. Let me just double check. Yep, SC308. And I gave my initial review on this knife. And I've taken it to work with me. This has been my work EDC. And for what I do for a living, being an iron worker, usually we get bundles of rebar and different shaped rebar in these thick nylon sacks. I mean, these things are huge. I'm talking about they're like 5 foot in diameter, they're about 4 foot tall, and they're intended to hold thousands of pounds of weight as they're being lifted with cranes or forklifts or whatever, bringing on material to us. So they're really heavy duty. So as we get into it and we start to pull material out of it, we cut away the bags. Some of the nylon webbing that they use to wrap on our stuff, our bar, is pretty nasty, and this is why we carry a knife on to cut stuff like that. We cut rigging and rope all the time. Sometimes if we get chokers that we rig our material with, and they're getting a little weathered or not looking that great, we take them out of service by cutting them in half. That way they're not used anymore, and that way no one gets hurt by using equipment that's not up to par. And basically that's what I've been using to cut with this. Now when I'm cutting rigging, or when I'm cutting the rigging or whatnot, it's pretty tough. I mean, this stuff is intended to hold thousands and thousands of pounds. So it's pretty durable, it's pretty thick, and it takes a lot to cut through it. I've been able to cut through it pretty decent with this knife. When those sacks I was telling you about that haul our rebar down to us, as you cut through those sacks, you do end up hitting rebar. So I'm cutting through that heavy mesh and hitting steel on the back side on this edge. And initially the factory edge on this, although I thought it was kind of a wider grind, it ended up being pretty lean. So that primary bevel, the actual cutting bevel at the bottom, I had some initial rolling right off the bat. Now the knife still maintained sharp, but it did have some rolled edges from rubbing against, from hitting steel or different things. So what I had to do is I went ahead on the second time I've sharpened this, I went ahead and convexed the edge and kind of gave it a bigger shoulder or wider, like not as lean as the grind, so it was more durable, and so that I wouldn't have to sharpen it all the time, less likelihood of the edges rolling or whatnot. And basically where I was getting the edge rolling on the blade was in this area right here, and of course at the tip. Basically pierce whatever material you're doing and then start to slice. This right here, this area right here is pretty much where the majority of the work is going on, so I had to do that. Now I have sharpened this 2 times already. After the first couple days I noticed the rolling on the edge, so I reprofiled it, convexed the edge, and then I just recently sharpened it again. Now I pull this knife out probably over a dozen times a day to cut through stuff, I've actually used this edge right here to kind of to actually get into a peanut grinder and loosen up the fastener, the flathead fastener, to change the wheel on it. And surprisingly enough, it isn't the wisest thing to do with a knife, because that's basically how you'll break the tip off of a knife, but it held up fine. So I'm pretty impressed. As far as the stiffness on it, it's actually freed up quite a bit. It's not as stiff as it was initially. It's still a little stiff, but this thing right now, if you look in there, see, focus, come on dude, it's pretty dirty and grimy. I didn't clean it up or anything. Another thing I did is I did chamfer this relief to disengage the lock. Not that it was an issue at first, it's just I'm working with gloves, so with a glove on it made it really hard to access that thumb stud. So I chamfered this off a little bit just for because I'm using thick heavy duty gloves because I'm handling iron all the time, and you know, last thing you want to do is cut your hand open, so we use really heavy duty gloves, but the thicker the glove the harder it is to get to this thumb stud. So I just relieved, I chamfered this just a little bit more than factory, and now it's working pretty good for me. Like I said, it's still a little stiff. It's not like I could flick it out. Like right there I flicked it out, no problem, but it's still a little stiff, and I think it has a lot to do with the grime that's in there right now. I've been working off the water, so this has been exposed to salt water. I've been working off of the Port of Tacoma, and here in Washington we've been doing 2,500 feet of shipping docks. So we're building these big docks where these cargo freighters come in, these 1,000-foot plus giant cargo freighters come in and dock, and then the derrick cranes unload the shipping containers or whatnot. But we were building one of those, and so it was nothing but salt water around and rain and all this other crap. And luckily I have not seen any kind of rust on this whatsoever. The coatings actually worked out really well. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a follow-up on the SCH308. It's a $20 knife, and for what I do, I've been beating the holy crap out of it, and I have not had any issues. The lockup is actually a little bit more than factory, but that's to be expected, especially me using this as a pry tool and using it for stuff that a knife is not intended to be done. And actually the lockup is solid. As far as excuse me, as far as the blade being centered, it is moved to the right a little bit. So you know, would I've liked it to stay center? Yeah, sure. But to tell you the truth, it's not rubbing. It's not rubbing the scale on this side. It still deploys. It's not an issue for me. This is a work knife for $20. You can't ask for more. Pocket clip retention is still really good. I haven't had it fall out of my pocket, and I haven't had issues, you know, actually pulling it out to use it. It wasn't the tension on this isn't so hard that I'm spending an extra second or two to try to get it out of my pocket. So it's worked out pretty well. And we run around and climb on iron and do all kinds of stuff, and I haven't had it fall out on me yet. I haven't lost it. And I've lost quite a few knives climbing around, and this one is still hanging out with me. So there's about a month of use on this knife so far for what I do, and I consider what I do as hard use on a knife, and it seems to be faring very well. It's got a mirror edge on it now. I reprofiled it. Let me see. Right there. That looks like some. Let me see. So as you can see, here, it takes an edge really nice. It didn't take me any time, and it's shaving sharp right now. And what I mean, not any time, I have a 1x30 belt sander, so it's kind of like cheating as far as sharpening goes, but I could throw an edge on anything really quick with that. So it took me approximately 3 minutes to sharpen it, where I went ahead and put it past 2 passes on each side to go ahead and relieve the rolls and get it going again, and then I switched to my stropping belt and put about 3 passes on each side to get it to the sharpness. So the steel on this, even though a lot of people aren't too crazy about the HCR 13 MOV, you will have to sharpen it more often, but it'll take you a matter of minutes to bring the edge back. It's a pretty good working steel, and for the price, you really can't beat it. So here you go, guys. This is my overview again after 1 month of what I consider hard use. It's still faring very well. So for $20, it's a great buy. I definitely wanted to make this video again. I usually I don't do too many follow-up videos, but for 20 bucks and how well this has served me so far, I definitely felt the need to do this video and let you guys know what I found so far with this knife. So thanks guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks Taylor Brand for making a pretty decent knife at a pretty decent price point. Take it easy. Peace.